Welcome back to On the Slab. We are back on a Friday night. What night is Friday night, Ian? I'll tell them.
It's mother flipping hurry night.
Damn right it is. Good to see you all again. We let the inmates run the asylum last week. What were we thinking, Ian? I don't know what we were thinking. Do you?
That's why I said it's hurry night. I lost track.
No, only messing.
That's a good cover up for my. No, we're kidding.
G-Man was doing great, did great last week. Fair play to him. But you've got the OGs tonight, and we're talking about some cool old films this evening. Before we go on, though, did you see the trailer for the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
I did, and done in the form of a proper old school trailer, right? Not too much given away. The only thing it missed was that guy in a world.
Oh yeah,
we missed him. Where's that guy? We need to get someone out there that can just do that constantly. I know. Shout out to Don Marnell, works with OTT Wrestling. That guy can do it perfectly. He's been on the show before. He needs to be given a job.
We need to get him to introduce our show. That's what we need to do.
We do. We actually do. In a world where three guys listen to all. You know what I mean?
On the slab.
On the slab.
Imagine.
Yeah, so.
But anyway, right?
It looked phenomenal.
Yeah, it looks.
I'd say you're excited by it, right?
I am. I'm going to give it a chance because I think the rest of them are shite except for the original, as everyone knows on this program. I don't hold that back. So I'll give it a chance. And the fact that it's gone on to Netflix, I'm happy enough with that. You know, I don't want to be wasting freaking 20 quid on cinema tickets that something that might be shite. You know. So
hanging around with all them dirty unvaccinated people like myself, you know.
Yeah, you doorbag you.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to tonight's proceedings. We are going to talk.
Just lost 3 viewers there.
Hey, but we're going to gain more with this. Don't worry. On the show tonight, we're going to talk about our picks from the 1920s. What the hell was wrong with me there?
1920s. Yeah.
So what we've done was
okay, Carol?
I'm okay. I didn't have a stroke. I'm okay. Thanks. Jesus Christ, Carl. What are you talking about?
We call it on the fly here on the slab.
Always. But yeah. So we're going continuing on from the series where we did the top 20. 1910s. What's wrong with me? Jesus.
We've done 1910s. So what Carl is trying to say, we've done a previous episode where we covered our top 5 picks each from the 1910s, but today what we decided to do was what we picked out, I think, from maybe 10 or 15. Carl, the most of the work, I'm not going to say. And we agreed on 5. So we said we could give them a little bit more time, and obviously films that were very, very important to the progression of where horror is today and where it led us to, because obviously the 30s is next, and that's when you start seeing a lot more work from the likes of Alfred Hitchcock, etc., and that's when you saw the great Spiral Staircases and all those kind of films coming out, and they had a little bit more depth to them in terms of narrative and storytelling and length. So Carol, that's what you were trying to say, isn't that right?
Thank you, Ian. But as you said, though, each picture that we're going to talk about tonight has its own type of, what would you say, influence on horror movies.
Yes.
So even though the films back in the a lot of horror fans nowadays may not look at these old films, but in terms of they are dripping with atmosphere, and I mean dripping with atmosphere and visuals. Yeah. You know, so let's get cracking into it then.
Like a young one that hasn't been to Copperface Jacks in 2 years, dripping with atmosphere.
Dripping for the cops. That was what I said there. Exactly. We're having a wild night tonight.
The two boys are back.
So, what number? I'm gonna go from 5 to 1 because as you said, I kind of did up this list and we kind of agreed on the way it's
and you didn't tell me the order, so I'm excited to see.
Excited
to see what way the order is. Yeah.
Right. So starting off at number 5, we're gonna have The Man Who Laughs. All right. Now that was made in 1928. When you think all these films, I know they're in the 20s, but if anyone hasn't seen any of these films, go back and watch them. You'll find them all on YouTube now. You know, and you'll get to watch them for free. you know. But this was made in the States, and the director was Paul Lenny.
Yeah.
It was made by Universal. Did you know that?
Do you know what? It was funny enough because people probably see me looking at my screen and not being rude.
No, I know.
This is what I have. I have it on my screen below me here. So I have a notebook below my notebook. So I'm looking here going, and I mean, I remember being very young and seeing the image, the black and white image of the guy who basically looks like the Joker, right?
Yeah, and that's what the Joker was based on, would you believe?
Yeah. But I didn't know until today that it was made by Universal.
I know. Funny enough,
that was interesting.
I didn't know that either, would you believe? But I've seen this film, and it's such a weird film. Conrad Veidt is the guy who plays the lead character, which his name is Gwen.
Based on a book as well, wasn't
it? Yeah. Gwynplaine is his name in it. But excuse me, again, to gloss over the story. You know, as a child, his face was cut into that big mad grin that he has. Very, very, very like the Joker, or one of the Jokers.
Well, exactly like the Joker.
Yeah, or one of his origin stories anyway. But
that's not lovely.
He gets shunned from people, and then he saves this child whose mother dies from the cold, and he takes this child in, and they grow up together. He's quite young as well at the time, and they end up falling in love. And she's blind, so she doesn't see his mad looking face, but she still falls in love with him. And you know, it's like a love story. It's an unrequited love story, and it's a cool film. It's, again, these films, like, for their time, were fantastic, you know.
Oh man.
Yeah. So you had
the atmosphere and the look, as you say, the look of the antagonist or the protagonist, whatever way you want to look at them in these movies, because they always had depth to these stories, didn't they? They weren't just like a villain for the sake of being a villain. They always had a little bit of a backstory, just like Dracula and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for their insanity.
Yeah.
That a lot of kind of movies that came later on, you know, failed to mention. And not that it was a problem, you know.
No.
And then another German film. The German.
Well,
director.
the German director, but made in the States. But it was, would you believe, it was a silent film. And I don't know, I have a soft spot for silent horror films, as a lot of people know. I know you do, actually, yeah. So, great film. Please, I implore you to check it out. If you're a fan of the Joker, check it out, and you'll see where they got the inspiration for the Joker. Great film.
100%.
So moving on, number 4 is a film from Sweden, would you believe? And it was made in 1922, and it is called Haksam. Now this film, I don't know if have you seen that one? I think you may or may not have.
I seen the trailer, not gonna lie.
Right, yeah, no.
But I know it's a very, very short film.
Yeah, it's.
But yeah, I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah.
So you're gonna take the lead on this.
Absolutely. One. This is another.
I believe it's based on witchcraft, isn't it?
Yeah, witchcraft, demonology, and that kind of stuff. You know, it's kind of. I should
have really watched it, because that's more up my street.
You'd love it. You would love it. It's like a kind of like a mockumentary stroke fiction type mishmash. And again, for the time that the year was made, 1922, it looks class, right? And I don't know if you know, I love that film so much that I used it for one of my songs on the Bloodwood EP, Terror Inside. It's parts of that film are the video for my song, because I just thought it suited the film, or suited the song so well, you know. But it was done by Benjamin Christensen, who was the director, and it was all about the history of witchcraft, demonology, Satanism. It's very, very what would you say? There's a lot of symbolism, and again, very creepy. Not scary, but creepy. You're looking at it, you're like, oh, that's just a bit fucking weird, you know. But again,
you could definitely see that kind of popping up in like ghost videos or something.
Yeah,
Or, you know,
I've no doubt in my mind that Tobias Forge loves this film, you know, and especially the fact that it's Swedish as well. I'm sure he knows it, and I'm sure he loves it.
100%. That's what I'm saying. Benjamin Christensen. Could you get a more? Could you get a more Nordic name, like
maybe something like Thor Christensen, or something like that.
Oh, Christensen. Yeah, Benjamin. Someone obviously went over and was English there. Hello, I'm Benjamin. You must be Miss Christensen.
Now we'll go on now because
let's make a baby.
Quiet you. Number 3, I think you could probably take this one if you like. It's Phantom of the Opera.
I am a huge fan of this. From the book, because I've read the book.
Yeah.
Probably a million times. And
you started telling me the story from the book one time, didn't you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I just, because I always love, I'm not going to lie and sit here and say I love theatre, because, I never went to much theatre, obviously, other than being a kid, yourself on school plays and stuff, you get brought to pantomimes and theatre and stuff, but I always found theatre very intriguing in terms of what works in the background. I've always been that way, that. I've always been very analytical when it comes to, okay, how does the show work? Even when I was doing pro wrestling, I was like, how did they get the canvas? When I was a kid watching pro wrestling, I was like, how did they make the canvas step? What's under the canvas? How did they make the ring? I was always into that kind of...
the mechanics, so to speak.
The mechanics, exactly. And so I always loved theatre, and I have to say this is probably my favourite play of all time, even though I've never got to go and see it. Hopefully when the world opens back up and things return to some sort of normality at some point, it is a play that I would love to see, probably over in London, because that's where it, that's where it stemmed from. So I'd read the book, and the first time I ever saw this film was actually with my grandmother, and then later on I always see them with the grannies. This is just a story of my life. I think it's because I was always going back and forth from town to town, and I was always with the grannies, and I guess the parents and the uncles, they were out in the pub, so why not sit and watch movies with the granny while they're waiting on their curry?
Absolutely. Right? And was she into
Because they always brought a curry back. It was like, again, it's Friday night, isn't it? And it was always horror night, and it was just one of those things. My grandmother in Bray was 100% into horror. She loved thriller and horror. She loved
brilliant,
and just super religious. Do you know what I mean? So she'd be sitting there with her. Give a bit of context. She'd be sitting there with her rosary beads, and she'd be blessing herself sometimes. I can only imagine what she was like during The Exorcist.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
I can only imagine. But my grandmother in Finglas, this is the one that I'd seen this one with, and it just happened to be on. And I remember then later on seeing the Hammer Horror version of it. Yeah. Because they just always made everything a little bit darker, didn't they?
Always.
A little bit better. But this one in particular is fantastic because, you mentioned atmosphere, we mention atmosphere constantly on the show.
Mm-hmm.
This one doesn't need words, it doesn't need language really, because it's basically a play on screen. Am I right?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And the music in it is just, and it's a very, very sad story. I mean, the Phantom of the Opera musical piece, who like Andrew Lloyd Webber and all kind of made it famous, is just probably one of the most beautiful pieces of music of all time, in my opinion.
It is. It's a great musical, actually. It really is.
It's a very Dracula-esque story, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you see, a lot of those stories were around a dark time in history, I
wonder if some of them are true. Someone's lying to me. Some of these are true, aren't they? They have to.
Well, there might be some element of truth somewhere, or there's.
There is with Dracula. We know that.
Yeah.
Obviously,
yeah. These are real. It's not.
But this is a great show for me. This would have been my personal number one, but I said it was your show, and I know what your number one is.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't really, and like me throwing Dracula in there is kind of a little bit of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But I mean, this is, as I said, it's one of my favorite stories. It's one of my favorite plays. One of my favorite books.
I love the makeup that Lon Chaney had on this. It's one of the most recognizable makeup looks in cinema history. It really is. It's still
Whatever, dude.
still top notch. And I don't know now. I know I heard that he used to do his own makeup. I don't know if he did it on this film, but I know he definitely did his own makeup on films. So
It'd be interesting to find that out, wouldn't it? Because that's what I was trying to do, a quick Google search on it there.
Yeah.
But no, I don't want to keep people waiting.
no, I think he did. But either way, again, this should be on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, check it out because it'll give you an idea of why it's so the story is so beloved. It's mainly stemming from this and the book, as you said.
Yeah. 100%.
So of course that was in 1925, made in the States, and another Soylent film. I think they're all Soylent films. Yeah, they are.
They're all Soylent films. Yeah.
Oh, actually, one bit before we go, did you know that there was Did you know that there was a follow, like a second film made called Return of the Phantom?
Oh yeah, and I never seen it.
No, me either. But they couldn't.
I've never seen it.
They couldn't, and this was like the first one was Soylent. This one wasn't. But they couldn't use Lon Chaney because he was actually contracted out to MGM.
Contracted.
Yeah, at that stage.
Contracted. Back in the day. Just a little side note for anyone out there who wants to kind of going off topic a little bit. But if that was a dab or something, was it?
I don't know what it was. Sam Bolt, get up.
More like Hollywood Hogan. Get that into you. I was checking something out, and I watched. Obviously, I went to the cinema to see the Lauren Hardy story. Remember they done that a few years ago?
Yeah.
And it came out. I thought it was an absolutely fantastic movie.
Brilliant film.
I can't remember off the top of my head who played who. I think it was John C. Reilly.
He played the Stan Laurel, was it? No.
No. He
Oliver Hardy.
Stan Laurel was.
And what's his face?
From The Hobbit. Martin Friedman.
That's the one.
And I thought that was a fantastic movie. And when you anyone that hasn't seen that, again, I know we're giving you horror show tips here, but go and see that and see what way the movies were made back in those days.
Yeah.
And I thought what was great about that was when it shows you how you were contracted to a studio.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was it. And if they let you go, you were going around selling your stuff trying to get back. So I think that's where the term hustling in Hollywood comes from.
Yeah.
But just when you brought up the Laurel Chaney there, I thought you'd put a cool little side note.
It's a great side note to give people. Check out that. What is that? It's called
Context.
Stan. Yeah. It's called Stan and Ollie, isn't it? I think it's just called Stan and Ollie. It's a great film.
Fantastic.
Very affectionate, isn't it? It's really nice.
Oh yeah.
But we're not talking about nice films. We're not talking about nice films.
Yeah, they're two of the best characters. We're not talking about nice films, but there we go.
Yeah, but look at it though, right? But anyway, scary. We'll move on. I'm in great form tonight. I don't know what the hell's up.
We were talking about Hollywood. It is scary.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, consider what goes on now. Yeah, definitely. Or what has gone on and what we're finding out more so. It's okay. We don't get demonetized. It's fine.
It's all right.
Yeah.
How are you feeling, Maxwell? Keep going, Carl.
Oh, there's a horror show right there. Number two. I'm on great form tonight. I don't know what's going on with me.
I love it. I think we both are. It's great.
Yeah. I haven't started drinking yet. I will be after this.
I've had my first. I'm okay.
Good. That's what I like to hear. Anyway, yes. Number two is The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is the earliest film on our list, made in 1920. And the director was Robert Wiene, W-I-E-N-E, I think it's a German name again. Would you believe the budget for this film was only $12,371? Now, I know it was in 1920, but it still sounds like not a hell of a lot, But again, I don't know the difference in value of money back then compared to kind of today.
I'd say at this time it would be up there.
Yeah, but what another?
I'd say it would be up there.
What another great film! And here's a cool thing actually. Conrad Veidt, who was in The Man Who Laughs, is also in this, and he plays Caesar. and Werner Krauss plays Dr. Caligari himself. So,
And what a fucking look as well.
It's brilliant. But of course, I'm sure most people who have seen our show have seen this film. But it's the whole thing of Caligari controlling Caesar, and he predicts some lad's death, and then your man dies, and then the whole thing is Caesar innocent or guilty, or is what's going on there, or is Caligari pulling all the strings? That's the intrigue of the film, It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And again, another very influential film. Very influential.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't. All people have to do is even just go and look up just type in Dr. Caligari and look at the images of him.
Yeah.
And you'll see how terrifying that was for people back then. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like these movies were holy shit. Like, I mean, I remember my uncles telling me, like, the first time they saw the Frankenstein movies and the Dracula movies, like, which we are about.
Huge.
We will get to them when they come around. Obviously, the Universal monsters and all that kind of thing. Which is, little side note, the next genre up. So you don't have to wait too long. But yeah, I mean, man, these were so influential to music, to metal music, to to horror, to kind of pop culture in general of things that are dark. These movies were absolutely terrifying, and I would say, I would be bold enough to say that I would guess that the great Mr. Bela Lugosi may have taken a little bit of influence with the eye work on this one, no?
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And it's just something I was gonna say there. Don't forget, they'd no sound back in those days, and they had to rely on facial movements and eye movements and all that kind of stuff. And like you said, Bela Lugosi, the best in the business in terms of being able to hypnotize someone with his eyes. Absolutely.
Of all time. Yeah.
Yeah.
White Zombie.
Oh. I love going back and watching these old films. I really do. They're
the best, man. They are the best. They're the best.
Yeah. So, Caligari, again, we're not dwelling too much on the films. But we're gonna have a good chat about the next one, of course, because it's
yes.
amazing.
You want me to say it for you?
Yeah. Okay. Go on. Go for it.
So the next movie, I gotta give a bit of a Dynamo Dozen style introduction for my man right here. It is probably Carl's favorite movie of all time, if not probably his favorite character of all time. Anyone that knows the man here knows that he's got it was one of his first tattoos, I believe. You can see it right there somewhere. There's a little Easter egg for y'all. while he's wiggling his arm, he's showing you.
He's trying to talk.
It is obviously the first kind of rendition, so to speak, on the main, on the silver screen of a vampire, that was kind of influenced from Dracula and stuff like that. And it is, of course, the great Nosferatu.
Oh yeah, what a film! What a film! And I fell in love with this film. Excuse me, the first time I saw it, and I can watch it over and over and over again. And I've seen it with different music scores behind it. I've seen it with no music score, and it's just, for me, it's captivating. Now I'm not saying obviously that this list is all about me, but this film is, for me, the best film in this decade. It's got everything. It has everything. 1922, that seems like a very strong year in that decade, 1922.
It does, yeah. And the Germans were on form.
Yes, they really were. I mean, that's it. Like, they were, back in those days, they did the best atmospheric stuff you could imagine. They just had a knack for it.
Bring it forward 20 years. They brought a lot of atmosphere to the world.
They brought it to reality, didn't they? Bastards.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, F.W. Murnau was the director on this, and
Yep.
one of the best character actors of his time, Max Schreck, who played Nosferatu. It was even it was even thought that he might have actually been a vampire. He was that into the thing. He was that into the character and playing it.
I remember hearing that. Yeah, like he would sleep during the day and all that. And would, so obviously that was a little bit of the that Russian character acting. What do they call it? The method acting.
Method acting. It's very extreme. It can be. I mean, like modern people like De Niro and Pacino do it now, and Joaquin Phoenix and all. Like all these big, heavy hitters.
So it's 100% based on Dracula by Bram Stoker. So it's 100% based on that. But obviously they I heard a rumor that they couldn't get the rights to Dracula at the time, so they made their own kind of character to make it look a little bit scarier. And believe it or not, the first movie that made sense because of all of our favorite, 80s vampire movies like Fright Night and all that. You'll always see that there's always those two little bites there, and you're like,
yeah.
How did if they're the canines or whatever you call them? I'm not a dentist, well to get first paper on show over this one. The canines, it's like, oh, but his were at the front.
Yeah.
He was the first one to have. And it's funny enough, a little segue. I watched Salem's Lot again over the weekend. The great David Soul, who I'm trying to acquire to get on the show at some point. So fingers crossed, everyone out there.
Yes.
Keep giving us the views, and then these people will come on the show.
Exactly.
But that's one of my favorite vampire stories ever. I know it's not a movie as such; it was a series, but obviously they put it into a package where you can watch it all together. It's 3.5 hours long.
Poor Barlow was a deadly vampire.
Oh, but based on this right here, do you know what I mean? This is one of the scariest vampires ever. And I mean, that scene of him walking up the stairs, his body getting longer. It's still terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah. The sense of dread. You know what's happening and you can't stop it. Amazing. Yeah.
The shadow, and just with a shadow. I mean, the camera trickery right there, 1922 even alone, is phenomenal. Like that might not look like anything to anybody now, but back then that must have been that was so far ahead of his time. You know what I mean? Because you see this little small fella walking up with the arms out, but then his shadow was way big.
I mean, you see
really cool.
You see a lot of the makeup artists, from Rick Baker, Tom Savini, all to even modern day ones. They all see the likes of these films as influences for wanting to get into makeup, and it's amazing. Like, to think that they still hold sway in this day and age. It says a lot about a film, and it says a lot about all of these films, not just Nosferatu, but all of these films. Each one of them is as important in movie history, horror movie history, I feel, and there
is many we've missed out on. So anybody that feel free to let us know your top 5 in the comments and let us know.
Exactly. What we could do as well in the future, is do lesser known films from each decade over the time. You know what I mean? So that way, if we missed out on one of your films that you're like, we didn't put in this or that, we might put it in the next one. But again, all this is just our opinion. This is us chatting about films that we love, as always, and it's all we ever do.
Just two brothers chatting about movies that we like. Yeah, exactly. In our own opinions.
So that's our little list. Short and sweet, to the point for the most part, and we have some cool shows coming up that I'm not going to tell you about right now, but we're working behind the scenes to get some nice content up for you. And I think guests. And guests, exactly. We're working diligently behind the scenes. We're small, but we're hard working, and we're honest, and we're straight up, and we're doing our best to get the best content for you out there. Of course, don't forget, we're on the amazing Dynamo Podcast Network. I forgot to pay the bills before we started, so I'm paying them now. Um, well, of course,
You got to pay the toll troll.
absolutely. Of course, fronted by the main man himself, Dynamo, into Dynamo Kelly, with his awesome shows that he has, which is Dynamo's Dozen, the Chelsea Roar, which is very close to my heart, of course, and the Calgary, was it the Calgary, the
The
Flaming
flaming
Puck.
puck for all the
That's right.
hockey fans.
Yeah. And then of course we've so much on the network. It's a great group of people to have on the network. We have
We got to give a shout out to the hardest worker on the network, of course, Mr. Noel Hogan.
Absolutely.
Who runs,
hands
football
down.
shows pretty much on a daily basis. He's the backbone of the show of the whole network, really.
Absolutely,
isn't he?
absolutely.
He's just taking it on.
But
And he knows that football is an hourly thing or a daily thing, and he just takes it on board. So
he's
anyone that
not
looks for
killing it. He
football,
is. Yeah. And what I love about him as a Liverpool fan, he can be quite impartial, which is very rare for a Liverpool fan. You know, so props to Noel for that. I have to say, anytime we're talking about on the Chelsea or whatever, he's always impartial, and I love that about him, you know. And of course, don't forget, he has a fantastic shop in Stephen's Green called Wrestling Mania for all your wrestling goods and services. And do check it out, because it's worth going in to see. It really is, you know.
For all you people that are coming up to Christmas now, especially, go in there, check him out. You know, you know what? Even if you're not vaccinated, you'll still welcome you. If you buy something,
he won't turn a few euros away. He won't. I promise you. But of course,
honestly, really check it out.
And then rounding up our gang is, of course, Retrotainment and Retrotainment Rewind, which have the incomparable Ted Irvin and our other co-host Greg Flanagan, and they talk about like old films but not horror films. And then of course on Recast they do what it says. They recast films from the old days in the present day, which is a fantastic concept and some really good. Yeah, it's. I have to say, it's one of my favorite shows on the network. It really is. It's real enjoyable.
Me too.
You know, but yeah. So I mean, that's to say, there's something for everyone on our network, and we're very proud to be on it. And thanks to the main man himself for having us all on it. You know.
I'm glad to have everyone on it. It's great, and as I said, with continued support, we can see there in the last few weeks that this particular show, which Miss Carol and myself kind of put a lot of thought and effort into, and now we can see more and more people are starting to listen to it. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we need your feedback as well, because at the end of the day, we don't know what we're doing right or what we're doing wrong just based on views alone. We need to know that you hardcore listeners are actually with us. So do like and subscribe and let yourself be known, so we can give you mentions and shout outs and stuff like that, and we can get you involved in the show. So there
might even be a spot on the show for you. You never know.
If you can speak and you're not a dumbass.
But look, before we sign off, I think our next show may or may not be a Christmas special, right? We've yet to talk about that. I just kind of popped into my head there. But I think I suppose we're going to have to do something for Christmas. So, there is some scary films around Christmas as well. So there
was a certain lad going around chopping people up in the Santa outfit back in the 80s, if you remember.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Watch Santa kill his parents. So.
Yeah. But look, we'll leave it at that for now. And before we go, always remember to look under the stairs. Look behind the sofa, because you never know what the fuck's going to be around the corner, or under the stairs, or on the slab. Don't ever forget it. Say goodbye to our fans.
I think Fear of the Dark should be playing in the background there as we sign off. 100%. Always look behind you when walking alone at night, and always remember to keep the lights on when you're home at night.
Absolutely.
14, the Dynamo Kelly for Carl King Woe, and on the slab, we are over and out.
Woo!